how do you see the collaboration between Nigeria and other African country? I'm looking at market now. Maybe, for example, we produce cassava in Nigeria. Are we able to supply to Ghana and then get some goods back from Ghana in Ivory Coast? Are there some serious collaboration going on among Africans within the area of food supply, production, and marketing and distribution?
Yes, there is, but it's not very, in fact, it's part of the goal of the African Union when they came up with this African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement stuff that I mentioned about. It's actually trying to promote intra-Africa trade among, and Africa is made up of regions. The ECOWAS region, the COMESA region, which is the community of East and South African, states. Then we have the SADC region as well. We have the Northern African region. We have, just the Eastern African region. And then we are, encouraging to promote trade among nations. So, and the issues of tariff comes in. So, and that's why the African Union had to give a time for, the ratification process. So many countries of Africa gave, they gave, of their ratification instruments, and some were delaying. And what does it mean for them to do that? It means that they have agreed with trade among nations. So we need to cooperate more. We need to cooperate more. The problem is that most countries will not bring down their tariffs. Their tariffs, when they feel that if they bring down their tariffs, other African nations that are disadvantaged will have advantage over them. So, and of course, we know that trade within Africa is very difficult because of developmental issues with respect to trying to navigate into the other country. So even most times, like the article I developed, and I was, raising a very strong point that trade with, from Africa to other nations is much easier compared to trade within the African region. Come to think of it, if we can, cooperate amicably, just like you rightly pointed out, if we can engage and ensure and enforce policy. Policy is important, and that takes us to regional interventions, regional issues. Let's start with ECOWAS region. What's going on in ECOWAS region? How can we be able to even to deploy resources to enhance infrastructure? Because of course, infrastructure is very important. And it's, when we have good roads, road is part of infrastructure. Road infrastructure, can we move freely? All the issues with respect to, those bottlenecks, how are we overcoming them? So we need to, the government of African nations needs to come together, and the stakeholders that are involved in this, they must have to bring out their heads and see how to develop a strategy to navigate this. But in the past, people will still go to farm and come back. What about storage facilities, ease of land acquisition? What about irrigation? What about educating, building capacity in modern agricultural best practices? What about processing facilities? What about, completing usage of farm products like cassava peels? I had mentioned this in the integrated farming system that I talked about earlier. For example, cassava peels for poultry feeds instead of maize, and more will help to increase production drastically. So when this is done, policies will now be put in place. Policies can now be enforced. Policies can now be encouraged to protect local food production, to protect the smallholder farmers who are in Nigeria and even in other African countries.